where does your love of music and performing come from?
Well, I mean, music was always a really integral part of our house when I was a kid, and my mum and dad were really sweet and took me to the theatre when I was younger. But I think my biggest love is storytelling and how storytelling can move and change people. So it was that really more than specifically a show. It was just the kind of power of story, really, and that's something that's really stayed with me.
Amazing. And so, like, when you're performing then, as in singing or acting, which kind of takes your fancy, or do you love the combination of the two?
Well, for me, singing is kind of an extension of acting, really, because again, it is about what you're trying to convey, what message you're trying to tell with the story, or and not just the grand story, like what is the show about, but that specific moment. And the musical director said to me once that he thinks the reason characters sing in shows is because they can no longer speak. And so the only natural thing to do is to begin to sing. And I thought that was really beautiful.
Yeah.
So I think that for me, I would say acting is the most important thing because that encompasses the text and the melody and the singing.
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. So how did it all begin for you then? You said like you enjoyed storytelling and stuff, but where did the seed go from, like a tiny little seed to then it becoming kind of a reality?
Well, I did a bit of Amdram when I was younger, but my sister was also in the industry for a long time and ended up playing the same part as me at one point, which we might come on to, might not. But she at 16 went to performing arts school, and she was very glamorous as a young girl and was very keen on Amdram and stuff. And they said to me, why don't you do some stage management? And I remember feeling that I had to kind of grow a pair of balls in that moment to say, no, I think I want to do the singing and dancing bit too. And everyone was like, oh, do you? You don't seem a likely candidate. And I was like, well, I'd like to have a go.
Yeah.
So I did a bit of Amdram, and then being a professional actor was never something that was on my radar. I'm from a very small working class mining village, and it just didn't seem like a real career. It felt like something for posh people or rich people. But my love of theatre continued through amateur performances, and then I got a normal work. I was working in publicity, and then I got a job at Nottingham Playhouse, where I'm from, Nottingham. And it was there watching shows that I was profoundly affected by the stuff that I saw. And I thought, oh, damn, I think I want to be on that side of the auditorium. Damn it. So I said to my mum in my 20s, I want to go to drama school. She's like, what are you thinking? It's a ridiculous idea. And I said, look, I'll apply. And if I don't get in, I won't bother. Then I got in, and I said, if I don't get a grant, I won't bother. But I got a grant, and I was like, see ya, I'm off.
There it is. That's my ticket.
Yeah, that was it. I just sort of fell in love with it and didn't look back, really.
Amazing. Absolutely brilliant. And that's the thing, sometimes it's like a catalogue of events, isn't it? It's not just one moment. It might be one moment, like you said, that watching some of the theatre and that kind of affecting you in a way, that was kind of a moment. But then you, like you said, if I don't get in, then I won't bother. If I don't get a grant, then I won't. So it's like a catalogue of events, isn't it?
For sure, yeah.
So if you could play a role that kind of like was what you weren't, we all have this castable role. If you could play any role, literally, gender, age, nothing mattered, what role would you play?
Oh my God. In musical theatre or anything?
Anything.
I'd like to play one of Shakespeare's men. I'd like to play kind of Henry V, which actually was done last year by a woman, or, Macbeth or one of those. But then in terms of musical theatre, I think that the female parts are written brilliantly. But if I had to sort of turn it on its head, I'd like to play something like Sweeney Todd. That'd be great. The demon hairdresser of Fleet Street.
I love it. Amazing.
Nice, to do something like, it's a really nice, so we've never been asked that before. It's a really nice idea to step out, because you go, well, I can play women of a certain age. So Sweeney Todd. That'd be great.
For sure.
Sweeney Todd.
Just a tiny bit, yeah.
So I think it's good to know your casting bracket, but then also to think outside the box. I think that's really exciting.
Absolutely. So everyone always asks you, what's the favourite role that you've played, but what's your favourite show that you've seen?
I loved, and plays wise, I watched 4 times Mark Rylance in Jerusalem. I thought it was an extraordinary performance and a brilliant play. But musicals, I think Hamilton's got to be up there. I think when I did Billy Elliot, and Billy Elliot felt like it broke the mold of what theatre was in terms of its choreography and storytelling, to write a musical about a group of miners and a young boy. And I think Hamilton's done something, taken that idea and then some, and kind of, and it's just, I was mesmerised by it. I just thought, and the way that it was cast was just so genius. So yeah, I think those two. And also the problem is I go to the theatre. Well, I did go to theatre all the time, and I'll be doing that as soon as possible. So if you ask me 12 months, that will change. But they're the two at the moment that really resonate with me.
Yeah, for sure. And how important do you think it is when you're in that kind of industry to still go and see other performances?
Well, for me, it's massive. I mean, some actors don't bother for various reasons, some of them cynical, some of them not so cynical, but I go for 2 reasons. I go, one, because I think as an actor you should keep watching other people in their craft, but secondly, I just really enjoy it. I just love, I really admire, and I'm slightly in awe of actors. I kind of fan on them a little bit, even non-famous ones. I'm like, oh my god, how'd you learn those lines? God, look at you singing and dancing. Oh, it's amazing. You do that. I know I do, but you're amazing. So I love when lights go down. I love the sound of the audience. I love the striking up of an overture. I also love standing in the wings and stepping onto the stage. I'm just kind of a mad fan for it all, really. So I would say to any young aspiring actor, go to the theatre and go to see Amdram stuff. I mean, I think in France, the word amateur means something like for the love of. I think amateur gets a bad kind of rap sometimes, but it's where I began, and it's a real passion for people, and you just learn. And even if you see something that's really crap, you still learn from it. You know, you go, I won't do it like that, but my God, that individual was stunning. And so always be learning, and I think theatre is a good place to do that. I can't wait to go back to the theatre.
I know, it's so exciting. Just talking about it gets you all kind of like riled up, doesn't it? Just like, oh yeah, get me in there. And I think like what you said there about going to see lots of different types of shows, it just makes you a more all-rounded, not just performer but person, for sure. And when you see something and it's a bit dire and it's a bit like, oh god, and there's the cringe moments and everything, but it's not always all bad. You know, like you said, there can be like that one moment where that one person just knocks your socks off, or actually you know, the choreography was genius, or do you know what I mean? So I think like you say, it's like when you go and see a brilliant show, it's not all brilliant, like you know, it's the same thing, and you can like take little moments and little nuances that people do and go, that was really clever, I love that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. And also, you know, you might find a monologue that you want, or a scene that you might use, or even if the play's rubbish, you know, you like you say, there's always something, or the lighting was brilliant, or somebody who had 3 lines, they were brilliant over there. Like you said, there's always, I think I've walked out of a play once in my whole life. Unfortunately, a mate was in it.
Oh no.
But I just thought, at that point, I just thought, I know this play very well, and my life's too short to stay. But I've done that once, and I wouldn't recommend it. I'd say stay to the end, especially if a friend's in it. I mean, what was I thinking? And they saw me leaving at stage door, because I walked past stage door, and they happened to be walking past, and they were like, so, what are you doing? And I was like, so there's a lesson to us all.
We've all done it where you pulled, oh god, you know, I just really want feeling well, or I forgot about that, you know, really exciting thing that I've got
to the Chinese right now. I'm just going to go and get a Chinese.
Oh, I know. Sorry. So out of the roles that you've played then, and the career that you've had so far, you know, how do you pinpoint brilliant moments when people say to you, what are your favorite moments? Is it a show? Is it a particular scene or a moment? Is it a company? How do you kind of like sum it up?
I think a company is really important, actually, because I think acting is such a collaborative thing to do. So a good company can have a bearing on a bad production, I think, and vice versa. So I mean, obviously Mamma Mia is up there because it's been such a huge part of my life, but I did Assassins just before lockdown, and I'm a massive fan of Sondheim anyway. So to do that show and then have a brilliant company of people and a director that I hugely respected and admired, and an MD as well. So I think you're right. I think it depends upon more than one thing. You can have the biggest part in the world and be miserable. So it's not about, I remember saying that to somebody once, it's not like once you get a big part, that's it, you're going to feel great. I've had tiny parts and things and had the best time of my life. It can depend on the theatre you're in, the location that you're in. So there's a huge amount of things. And I don't I don't know whether I've had a terrible time on anything. I'm quite an optimist and quite sort of try and look for the best in things. I don't think I've ever had a truly terrible time on a show. Thankfully, there's been challenges, but I think you've got to remember, if you're working at all as an actor, you should count your blessings, because there ain't much work out there. That's the truth, you know.
And also, I always look at it like, you've worked so damn hard. You don't want to then get a job and be miserable, or you know, it's like you say, it's so tough out there. You've got, you know, you've beaten off the competition, if you like. You've got to that moment, and you're like, well, now you've got to enjoy it. This is the you know, this is your moment. This is your bit, whether you're in the chorus, whether you're a, you know, whoever you are, like, this is your moment. And I always think the people you meet along the way are the best bits.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I love actors. I love creative types, and they're 99% of the time the most glorious of people. You know, it's funny that, because there's a joke, isn't it? How do you make an actor moan? Give him a job. Yeah. And I think that what actors do very successfully often is campaign a lot for their rights, because I think that's important. But you're right that if you get a job, if you get in a room to audition, you're already ahead of the game. Somebody said to me the other day, because they're casting something at the minute, that they had 900 applicants for this job. They'll see 15 of them and they'll recall 3 of them. So even if you get in the room, you're already got to be like celebrating. And that's not to dissuade anyone from doing it, but and I would never want to do that. But I think you've got to be really realistic about what this is. Yeah. And like you say, if you've got a job, then, you know, you are winning, even if it's something that you're a bit like, you know, you're winning. Especially now after this pandemic, I think everyone's like, anything, get a job, you know. Yeah.
Literally anything. But I think what's been brilliant about this whole, like, kind of, I mean, you say brilliant, but you know what I mean, during this lockdown, is whenever anybody's got anything, whether it be a commercial or whether it be a online live streamed performance, the support that they've had from their friends and their fellow kind of creatives has been massive. And I think so much more so now than it ever was before. And I think that's genuinely, we've all kind of sat down and gone, nobody's had work. Doesn't matter who you are, whether you've just graduated or this has been your job for 60 years, like, nobody's got work. Everything's stopped. So the moment a little seed comes out or something is around, and you go, oh, I've got a friend that I reckon would, you know, you jump on it, don't you? You go, let's rally round. And I think that going forward, then when we eventually get back to it, will be such a brilliant thing that we've learnt.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think, I mean, hashtag be kind has been a kind of thing that's been bandied around, and that's not to diminish its importance, but I think that has really been brought into focus with what's been happening. I think you're right, not just in the arts, but generally just being a decent individual, you know. But I think you're right. I think the support has, I mean, thank goodness for social media, because if this had happened in my day when I first came out of college and there was no such thing as TikTok and all that shiz, but I think social media has been a great sense of support, you know, that you put. I don't tend to put that much stuff on, but people put their blue, and there's an influx of support. You know, someone said they didn't get a job, or they did get a job. The support's been overwhelming and really precious and valuable.
Absolutely. So do you have, when you're doing a show, any pre-show rituals or things that you kind of she's like, there's a list.
Yes. Well, what I didn't realise, and I discovered it recently about myself, is when I'm nervous, I get really, because when you're nervous, there's an element of stepping out onto stages, which I always kind of, you sort of step into the light and you sort of throw yourself over the edge and go, this is it, I'm going to show you what I've got. And it's quite a nerve-wracking, vulnerable place to be. And there's a certain amount of lack of control of that. You can prep technically your voice and do the rehearsals, but there's sort of almost kind of giving it into the lap of the gods in a way. So I feel slightly out of control. So what I do is try and regain control. And the way that I do that is by anally tidying my dressing room space. And I put like brushes in high order and lipsticks lined up to the point when it's so like, it's like a grid. And my husband, I was working, he's like, what are you doing? I was like, it's a pre-show tidy up. He was like, what are you talking about? I was like, I just need to, and like ordering the colour of sweets. And he was like, okay, I'm just going to leave. And it's that's my big thing, is being anally tidy about my space. So it's not so much like a specific like vocal ritual, because I do all that as well. Of course, I do all the kind of specific warm-ups and make sure I can go, yeah, for no reason. It's there. Yes, it's there. I mean, all actors going around bloody dressing room going, Yeah, it's there. So I do all that, obviously, but then I just anally tidy my space. I mean, I get great joy from that. So, yeah, and also have that really important lozenge, which a director said, what's that for? It's my voice. He was like, it kind of helps this.
Yeah.
Doesn't really help. Doesn't get anywhere near your vocal folds. I was like, yes, but I have to have Jakeman's throat and chest and a vocal zone mixed together and put in my mouth. He was like, okay.
But that's the thing. I think sometimes you get it in your head, like you said, you get it in your head. This is helping me. This is help, and it is a coping mechanism. It's a strategy. And you go through life doing these things. But like you say, you love your job. It's a brilliant job, but nonetheless, it is stressful and a little bit scary at times. So just to help yourself, absolutely, we all do it. All do it.
People do it with anxiety, and it's a sort of low-level anxiety, I think, when you're nervous like that. And I think it's just about safety. However, I have tried through the years to get rid of them, because I had quite a lot when I first started. I used to drink this pint of this weird liquid, and someone said, just try dropping a lot of these, try getting rid of them. And I have, but there's a couple that I'll just hold on to. One of them being tidy and one of them being the Jakeman's throat and chest.
Hey, what works for you works for you. So some shows warrant you to juggle and do acrobatics and roller skating and all this kind of cool fun stuff. Is there anything special skill wise that you haven't pulled out of the bag yet?
Ooh, well, I've never horse ridden in anything. I'd love to, because I can. And I used to be a gymnast. I was a gymnast in the England junior squad when I was a kid.
Wow.
And I've never ever had to use that skill. I mean, as I get older, it's less likely that I'm going to be doing a kind of, no-handed cartwheel. But yeah, I mean, that would be rather fun. I'd like to play like some sort of gym instructor in something and whip out a cartwheel and a handstand. But I don't have anything really fancy like sword swallowing or hypnosis or anything. I mean, it's the list on Spotlight now, the things you can tick. I'm like, I need to get me some skills, like soda bread baking. I mean, banana bread.
Yes, I can bake under pressure. Here I am.
I'm baking in lockdown. I can grow myself a starter dough. But no, there isn't anything particular. But I wouldn't mind kind of getting on the back of a horse and doing something. That'd be fun.
Oh my God.
It's not going to happen in theatre, is it? Or it's unlikely, unless it was Cinderella.
Yeah, but would you if you were offered something to do with horseback riding in like a film or a sitcom or something, would you do it?
God, yeah.
Unless.
But I do have to have 6 months of horse riding and living in a stable beforehand.
Oh, that's such a shame.
I'd love to do that.
Such a shame.
And I started learning the piano as well, and I've not yet used that. I started learning that on tour a couple of years ago, and that's kind of because I think it's important to have an instrument. So yeah, I'm getting there with that.
Amazing. So when you said I don't really have any special skills except for gymnastics, horse riding, and playing
something though, nothing like I say fire breathing or dragon taming or anything like that, kind of fairly obvious stuff, really.
Not exciting but not dangerous either. I mean, so is there a book or a film that you'd love to see turned into a play or a musical?
Yeah, there is. I read a book in lockdown called The Salt Path, and I want to put it on stage. It's a beautiful story about a couple who lose everything, and then he's very, very, very ill as well, and they lose all their money, and they decide to wild camp and walk the Cornish coast. And it sounds kind of really simple, but it's such a beautiful story about courage and redemption and kindness and bravery and adventure. And I just think it'd be a really beautiful stage or TV adaptation. And in fact, I tried to get the rights for it and they've already gone, so somebody else has got the same idea. But then people option books, and I'm hoping that maybe that option won't get taken up and I can steal it and be in it. And there's a great part for me. So here I am 45-year-old woman. Oh, hello. So yeah, that and I read the sequel recently as well, and it's just a really beautiful story. And I think these days it's amazing The Wives of Henry VIII gets turned into this smash hit music.
Yeah,
people have got mental, brilliant, wonderful creative ideas. So I'm looking for the next thing, what ideas people are bringing forth. People are brilliant like that, aren't they?
Amazing. And that's the thing, you can just a seed of an idea. Sometimes you'll be talking to someone and it'll just be like just ordinary convo, and then something will just go ping, and then it just
definitely.
And that's what's amazing about being within the creative arts. It's so amazing to immerse yourself in that kind of thing, and just
it's life, isn't it? It's where you just see people. I'm volunteering for St. John's at the moment, vaccinating, because I've got time on my hands, and I'm like, oh, we have to write a sitcom about, I don't suppose you could do it specifically about St. John's, but about a volunteer charity, because the characters I've met, I swear if you put them in a sitcom you wouldn't believe they were real, but they are the most glorious human beings, and hilarious and touching. And so all around us I think there's always places to kind of, I'm going to take that part of that person and kind of file it somewhere in case I play a character like that,
yeah it's wonderful. And the thing is just people watching, sitting down.
I love it. I love doing I miss that.
Yeah me too.
Sitting with your shades on in a coffee shop, just like watching people.
I'm waiting for someone. I'm still waiting. So top 3 favourite films of all time. If you could just sit down and watch a film, either a girly night or with your other half, or with family, what are your top 3 favourite films?
Oh my god.
Any good ones?
Well, every Christmas I watch It's a Wonderful Life, and I don't get tired of it. I adore it. I'm going to try and be diverse, I suppose, because then gangster films, Goodfellas for me feels like the most seminal, perfect gangster film.
Okay.
If I was going to sit down with my mates, a film that I laugh at every single time I watch it is Bridesmaids. So I think a kind of good cross-section. I just think it's the most glorious, stupid, brilliant, girly film. I love it. Brilliant.
It's ridiculous, but it's so truthful.
It's really touching as well. And I'm an easy crier as well, so I cried at Goodfellas, I cried at Bridesmaids, and I definitely cried at It's a Wonderful Life. So
oh god, you can't not cry at It's a Wonderful Life. Anybody that doesn't cry, you're like, who are you?
It's a beautiful film, isn't it? It's so I watched the colour version of it, but I think I prefer it in black and white.
Hands down.
Funny, isn't it?
It's so funny. I think I like remakes, and I will always watch the remake, but 9 times out of 10 the original version is the best, because that's the one you fell in love with.
And I think you're right. And there's something about the acting, because I know that often acting styles have changed through the years, but I think Jimmy Stewart in that is just I think he's just gorgeous, so lovely, and still doesn't feel too heightened as a performance. He still feels really believable even in this kind of modern times, I think it's lovely.
It is. It's one of the best. It is one of the best. So talk about favourite performance venues then. Have you had one that's just been like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm here? Or just one that just sticks in your mind that you just love?
The Albert Hall. That's one kind of pinched me. Oh my God, what am I doing here? A little bit of We Just Came Out. One of those places. I was a bit like, oh my God. So definitely the Albert Hall, but I've performed in some really odd places as well. I performed in a bull ring in Portugal, which was
wow,
crazy. I had the nice Matadors dressing room because I had quite a nice part in the show, and it was a cell. It's like a jail cell. I was like, this is the posh one. I mean, I ain't being funny, but it's like straw and a bit. It's like literally bull everywhere. Smelt really bad, but I was like, okay, I'll take the nice room. That was amazing, performing in a bull ring. That was awesome. I performed in a cattle market in Yorkshire. So really odd sort of venues, but performing at the Nottingham Playhouse, which I've done a lot, is probably one of my favourites. It's a beautiful space to perform in, and because I'm from there, it resonates with me. I really like it there.
Yeah, for sure. And sometimes, like you said about the bull ring and all these random places, they're like the best ones, because they're the ones you think I would never have imagined, however many years ago when I first started doing this, that this is what I would be doing. And you tell people, don't you, you're like, oh yeah, I do performing arts, and they're like, okay, cool, so stage, audience kind of, and that's what people expect. That is just, as soon as you think, and you're like, oh no, today I was in the middle of a field.
Oh, okay. It's true.
And
I did a Greek tragedy as well in an amphitheatre in Greece, and you suddenly, that's where they should be done, really. You're kind of like calling to the gods, and the sea's sort of crashing behind you. So stuff like that's great, but you can't beat a sort of Matcham theatre, the kind of gold and the velvet. There's something that there's a lot of in the West End particularly. Those theatres are kind of like what you imagine theatres to be, aren't they? But like you said, theatre can be done anywhere pretty much,
Yeah, absolutely. So do you have a favourite line or lyric from a show?
Oh gosh. Just trying to think what anything that stays in my head. That was on Twitter recently. Somebody said, "What's one of your favourite lines in a show?" No, I can't think of anything in particular. Well, I mean, I did love singing the Sarah Jane Moore song. Singing about a gun. She's singing about that was not a specific. I got this really great gun. That was fun. But I can't think of anything specific. Now, when I leave, I'll be like, oh, there's loads. But no, I can't think of anything other than lots of Shakespeare. There was some beautiful.
Yeah.
Some of the poetry in Shakespeare just floors me. And then you read it again, then you read it again, then you understand it, then you take it apart and put it back together. Reading some of that was pretty special. Yeah.
I think it's so difficult, isn't it? Because when it's taught in school, like it's just it's not really understood, you know.
Yeah.
And it's so funny because the more, like, the older you get and the more you revisit things, you're like, oh my god. I remember my drama school monologues, and it was like, oh, you have to do a Shakespeare one, and it was like, oh, I want to do that. And you know, and I remember doing so many of them, and you know, them saying to me like, well, what does this mean to you? And you're thinking, oh my god, I don't know, nothing really. And you just like make up some rubbish, and you're like, oh yeah, what she said. It's like, it's hard, isn't it? You just but as you get older and you revisit these things, or you go and watch somebody else do it, and you think, oh my god, this is genius. This is absolute, and it makes you feel things that you haven't ever felt when doing anything else. You're just like, this is insanely brilliant. But I feel like that is kind of the type of text, though, that, you know, when people say as you get older, you really start to connect with something. It's the understanding of
it's hard. I mean, some of it's so convoluted and hard to get your head round and your tongue round when you're saying it as well. But you know what Shakespeare deals with, and I think as you get older, it really sort of is universal themes of love and envy and, you know, jealousy and ambition and greed and all the obvious big archetypal kind of emotions, which is why people take Shakespearean stories and turn them into other shows that are sort of a bit similar, you know, like West Stories, basically Romeo and Juliet, etc. Because they are things that we can all, even very young people, can really relate to. But I think Shakespeare's done wrong a lot, and I think that's the problem. It ends up sounding like a dirge of words that you don't understand. You know, I worked with a company called Northern Broadsides for a long time, who did Shakespeare with northern accents, and there was something about the way that the director did the shows. I wrote to this guy for 5 years to get a job, because there was something about the way that he did it. It made it feel like I understood not all of it, but suddenly like 80%, 90% rather than 20%. So it's about doing it right as well. It's beautiful. The language is beautiful.
Yeah, it truly is wonderful. So talk about lockdown life then. You kind of like explained a little bit there that you've been doing some volunteering. What have you been doing to kind of keep yourself busy at this time?
Yeah, it's been tough, hasn't it? It's been really hard.
Yeah.
When we first locked down, my voiceover agent rang me and said, build a studio. And I was like, what? I'm so rubbish with technology. And I was like, oh, okay, reluctant, you know, like putting excuses and barriers up. I was like, all right then. And I'm glad that I did, because I've done a lot of voice work since then. I just spent the summer kind of busily doing that, which was great. Amazing. And then I got a panto and did it, rehearsed it, and then did one performance, and then we had to leave and we never went back, but they put it online. So that happened. So I sort of managed to get bits of work, but then I was kind of quite good last year, kind of going, we can get through this. And I did lots of exercise and piano and singing and but then as this year kind of towards the winter, I found it much more challenging. I didn't want to make any bread anymore, and I didn't want to do all the stuff. So I found winter quite hard. But I've managed to mostly keep myself occupied, but I'm kind of done with it now. And I've got I'm starting work in July, all being well, and I'm just like, bring it on. I cannot wait. And it's people that I miss more than anything. I just want to see people, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's experiences, isn't it? It's just little things like, you know, when you see things on your phone, it tells you, oh, a year ago today you're doing this, and you're like, although it's beautiful to see, it's like, that's not helping.
Yeah, stuff
You
that we
know?
took for granted. I mean, blimey, it's going to be a different place when we come out of this, but a better one, I think.
Yeah, I like to hope so. And
Mm.
I think you're right with the whole time of year thing. Winter was
Yeah.
tough because
Yeah.
it's so much colder. You know, you don't want to go out and
Miserable, wasn't it?
exercise. Yeah. And the thing is, the things you did in winter, the fun things, you know, the nice winter walks with your friends, and, you know, going to see the pantomimes and ice skating and Christmas shopping and all these all these wonderful things you couldn't do. So like that fun element was really kind of taken away. So yeah, it's been tough to go into a new year knowing that it's no different. That was really hard.
Yeah, it was. You're right. And I feel quite trepidatious about the lockdown easing. I think it's brilliant, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I don't want to celebrate too much just yet, because I don't think I could bear the disappointment if it didn't happen. So I'm like, hooray. And I think we are going to. I think the vaccination program is amazing. But yeah, I mean, I'm lucky that I've got my partner with me in the house, and I know a lot of people have suffered terribly with loneliness. So it's been, and my family are nearby. So I feel like if my biggest thing has been boredom, I haven't really got too much to complain about.
Yeah, absolutely.
A lot of people had a lot tougher times than me. So
yeah, for sure. And I think that's the thing, you know, to be able to rally around with people and kind of like hold hands without holding hands, you know, and saying it's cool, like we can do this together, and when you're feeling it, just, you know, give me a shout. And I think that, like you said before about social media, you know, we have been lucky in that sense that you've been able to contact people, FaceTimes and those kinds of things that
who knew Zoom. So I mean, who knew, right? It's crazy.
It sounded like some made up magical language that kids talked about this time last year, and now it's like you live your life on there.
Yeah, I know.
Genuinely, it is crazy. So my last question for you is, what are your hopes for the future? What do you hope to be doing? Is there anything kind of in the pipeline that you're looking forward to getting your teeth stuck into? Or, like, you know, is there something that you think, right, I'm going to write a play, or is there something like this is what I'm going to do?
Yeah, well, hopefully if this job starts in July, that'll take me till the end of next year. It's a big long old job, which would be amazing. So that's kind of my focus. But I think at the moment my main focus is to really take the time to engage with people. I think that when I come out of this, I feel like sometimes I'm guilty of being wrapped up in my own stuff, especially as an actor, because you are your business, you are your job. And I think I really want to kind of really connect with people. I've done quite a lot of different charity stuff, not just St. John's, other kind of things, and it's been enormously fulfilling. So that's a big one for me. And I want to travel as well. I think that I want to just get out of my house and just be outside. But I don't have my ambitions, actually, in a strange way, have kind of be sort of small. They feel small because I just want some normal stuff. I want to go to a restaurant. I want to sit and have a pint and read the paper in a pub. I want to see some mates. I want to, you know, walk somewhere that's not around my own neighborhood. So real simple stuff, actually. So it doesn't feel like I have grand ambition at the moment. It just feels I want to just make those changes, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think once you make those changes, that's when little seeds will come in, little sparks will come off, and like you said, you know, helping others and just being around other people is wonderful, you know. And the connections that you make during lockdown with St. John's Ambulance, with other charities, other organisations, other things, it's amazing to go, do you know what, we could be friends for life. We could never speak again. We could touch base every couple of weeks, couple of months, couple of years. And I think that in itself has been truly amazing. You've met people that you would have ordinarily had life just continued had it as it was going.
Yeah, you're right. And also I've been surprised at the people that have really been there for me in lockdown. Those that I thought would be perhaps weren't for their own reasons, and those that I didn't think were. And so that's been a really lovely revelation. You're like, oh, I know you were a friend, but wow, this is really, really I had a big birthday in January, and it was amazing, actually, the warmth and the love that I received, even though it was virtual. And you're like, yeah, these people, I can't wait to be around them again. And I think people are going to be quite nervous at first of that social interaction. I think it's going to take us a bit of time as a country, as the world, but we'll get there because we're social, aren't we? And I think the big one is what we said at the beginning of this chat, is I can't wait to be back in the theatre on both sides of the stage. I can't wait to perform again, and I can't wait to see shows. It's going to be, I think it's going to explode. I think people are desperate for culture and art and stuff. So I think it's going to be really exciting this summer.
And also think of all the people that we've all been locked away doing this, that and the next thing. Think of all the new material that there will be. Think of all the new performers that, beforehand didn't ever think this was kind of going to be their thing. And then during this time of harnessed skills, honed in on certain things, and now are like ready to smash it. I think,
hands everywhere, weren't there?
Literally, you will not be able to move from a creative. You'll be on the train next to one. You'll live next to one. They will just be creative energy. Literally, people will be sick to death of us.
Yeah, I think it makes you realise how precious it is. I think people they do it without thinking, but it's huge. All the dramas on telly, I mean, they're brilliant. But I want to go to the cinema too. I want to go and see a movie. And I know there's been, and I think people have been amazing with all their online performances. But my husband said something, and it's true. I think the thing about online performances, as brilliant as they are, I think TV often does that better. But what theatre does is that better. And I think online performances are amazing. But there's something about the assembly of people in a space, collectively watching something, that you can't replicate, and it's magic. And I think people will come back in their thousands. I really believe that. I think there's going to be a real renaissance for theatre and the West End and other theatres that have hopefully survived this awful situation. So I'm really excited.
Absolutely. It's something to really, really cling on to, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Oh, well, on that note, Sara, thank you so much for chatting with me. I really have had a lovely time, and hopefully people will really, really enjoy watching, and it has made them smile. So that's our main kind of goal. Well, thank you so much.
Well, good luck with it. And if there's anything else I can do, give me a shout.
Thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. And I really hope what you've got going on in July goes. No worries at all. Take care of yourself.
The closest we're going to come to you is Llandudno, which I think is probably a bit too far away, isn't it? But
oh no, that's not that far.
Oh, isn't it?
It's about the same as Cardiff. It's just up rather than.
Oh, okay. Well, that'll be next year, so keep a lookout, and we'll maybe speak to you again.
I absolutely will. I would love to. Yeah, I would love to keep in touch. Thank you so much.
No worries.
Take care of yourself.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you so much, Sara. I had such a wonderful time chatting with you, and I'm sending you all my very best wishes for a fantastic 2021. Thank you all so much for supporting me and supporting my little channel. I've had a brilliant time so far interviewing so many amazing people, and I'm just so thrilled that everybody's enjoyed watching them. So thank you. Thank you for everybody literally around the world. That to me is just madness. Take care, everybody, and I look forward to seeing you again soon with another special guest. Bye.